Hi!
Hello.
Well, this is our second video with my transition story or my transgender story or however you want to call it. The point is that I was going to expose my history as a transgender person in Mexico, in a Catholic family. Like, just experiencing my microcosmos, because I think that a lot of people should fulfill the history of the transgender community. Mostly the fact that I don't think I've never met another person that shared my story in that regard, because I never was quite feminine when I was a little kid, so even for me or for my parents it was pretty weird to find out that I was transgender because no one saw it coming.
I don't know, I think just as I know you personally, I can imagine you as a kid and I think you would have just been neither what the normal bubble would call a girl or a boy. You just walked down the line of the middle and there was no sort of either way. I don't know.
And it's just that I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I did have some friends and I was fairly popular, let's say it that way. But it was just because I was fun to be with. I really never have...
You still are fun to be with.
I really don't have a lot of friends in reality. But, well, yeah, he's one of my only friends. And, growing up was the same. I was never interested in having friends. I was more interested in just being crazy. And as I said to Benjamin, when I was in kindergarten, I used to kiss boys and girls. I used to go and kiss them and just be happy. I was extremely happy. I was extremely euphoric, and most of the time I was in speed all the time. I was ah! And I remember that my only obsession was puzzles, and that was basically it. I was into being crazy and doing puzzles, having bruises in my knees and doing puzzles. That was the only thing that I do, and I was pretty clumsy too. So, it was never I never follow a gender path for saying it in a way. So in that regard, nobody saw it coming, and I was even interested into girls. I was interested into girls and into boys since the beginning. I didn't argue that one with myself. Well, later in my life, yeah, I argued that with myself, but I knew since I was a kid that I was a girl. I just knew that I didn't like being with other girls, and I just knew that I didn't like being with boys, because boys here in Mexico like football, and it's the great deal to do soccer and to play soccer, and the only thing that you do in your fucking life is playing soccer as being a boy. And for girls it's more learning how to cook and playing with dolls and being all girly and shit like that. So I was never into that type of stuff most of the time. So it was pretty difficult for me to fit into those groups. Because yeah, it was fun to be with, I was fun to play with. Outside those gender terms of how kids and how girls and boys should behave, I was pretty fun to be with. But in that regard, when boys wanted to play football, I was never there, and when girls wanted to play with dolls, I was never there. I was really not into that type of stuff. In fact, I was going to tell Benjamin that the reason why I like My Little Pony is because it was literally kinda the only thing that I like about girl toys. And it was because here in my house I used to have My Little Ponies, all My Little Ponies that my sisters had when they were little. So I used to play with them, but it was more yeah, I'm going to put my cars on top of them and they're going to be super fast and stuff like that. I wanted, and that's the reason why I adore My Little Pony and the whole thing about My Little Pony, because it's kind of it's neutral for me.
But I guess it's almost nostalgic, isn't it?
Yeah, and it also holds up with a lot of my memories as being a kid, as being the only thing that I can enjoy of being a girl. And growing up, I was a normal kid. I knew that I was a girl, and as I tell Benjamin, the only time that I realized that I was not a girl was when we went in elementary school in 5th grade, I guess. No, in 1st grade of elementary, no, 2nd grade. something like that. In elementary school, I was a kid of 8 something years, and we went to do to have a pool party, like something like that, and they had, obviously I had to change, so I had to enter into the boys' room, and I didn't understand it until eventually I entered to junior high school, and obviously they explain to you the sexual differences and the biological differences and blah blah blah, and I said, oh, so that's the reason why people don't see me as what I am. But I kind of never doubted that I was a girl, and even when I was, like, maybe that was the main reason, like, I tried to convince myself throughout junior high school that I was a boy, but I knew deep inside of me that that was not true. So I tried to behave like, well, as I told Benjamin, one of the main, like, breakthroughs of my life was the fact that I lost my virginity at 12, and in that regard it changed my reality, because that guy changed my perception of myself, because I thought that no one was going to be able to see the girl that I was, but he did it, and that, I think, in a sense, for me was good. Like, I felt like someone, that it was possible for someone to see me as a girl. Yeah, I know that maybe it was just the way to get to me, but in that sense I kinda, and that's the reason why I kinda like Lolita in that sense. Like, a lot of people don't know that about myself, but well, and it kind of made me realize that it was possible. Like, it was possible that I was a girl, and that I was not crazy, that I was not losing my mind in the process. But obviously I was in junior high school, and obviously as you're a teenager, you try to fit in. I was pretty feminine since the beginning. Like, I was not feminine in my attitudes, but my body and my face and my mannerisms were always pretty much feminine than masculine, and even my voice was always pretty much feminine than masculine, so it never dropped. And like, it was really strange, because I saw the kids and all the boys being like all masculine and getting beard and all that stuff, and I was never into that stuff. Like, I never changed into that regard. Like, I just got told, and that was it. And girls, well, obviously they flourish and all that stuff, and they had boobs, and I was like just this dinky little teenager that just grew tall. So I was in junior high school, and obviously I went to Europe and I went to Canada, so I get to experience the acceptance of other countries. And I said to myself, well, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad. But eventually, like, after going back to my trip from the UK and Europe, I didn't have a relationship, but I wanted to have like a boyfriend back in the time. So I was messaging this guy, and this deal to another stuff, so his mom knew, and blah blah blah, and you have message, and they called my parents, and I had a lot of troubles, and they sent me to a psychologist, and they tried to change me, they tried to convince me that I was wrong and all that stuff, but it kind of never helped. It just made me feel horrible about myself during a lot of time, because obviously my parents are Catholic and they don't believe in this type of stuff. They say that Jesus don't commit mistakes, so
wow.
So, and I believe in that completely. Like, if there's a God, I believe that he didn't commit mistake. He just make me like this. Since I was a girl, like, I knew that I was a girl. Like, I just knew that I was not like a girly girl. Like, I don't know how to explain that one, and I'm sweating, goddammit.
It is hot as hell in here.
Yeah. But yeah. So and after my parents knew that I was gay, I don't know, gay, something like that. They took me to this to a psychologist. I was like religious enough to treat me like if I was doing something wrong. So it was a time that I was really, really depressed. Like, I was really, really sad. And I met this girl, and for the first time I fell in love. But back in the day, I didn't understand, and I didn't have the knowledge to know what was being transgender. Mostly the fact that obviously that there was no YouTube back in the day. So.
And also, if you look up transgender in Google, it's...
And if back in the day you look transgender in the internet, the only thing that you would find was porn. So.
I think it's still like that to this day. I think like...
No, it's not like that.
It's
changing. It's changing. But well, we should change it. Like
we should.
With these videos, we should change it. And yeah, I was pretty lonely and all that stuff. So the only reason that I could explain who I was and what I was living is with saying that I was gay. So I felt that I was gay and I was living through that path until I fell in love to this girl. And I was pretty confused because I was like, what am I? So I was with her and I was feeling really happy. But obviously we were teenagers, we didn't know what we wanted. I couldn't articulate what I was and what I wanted to be. And I wanted her to view me as her girlfriend, but I didn't know how to articulate that one. I didn't even know what was happening to myself. And I find her attractive and I find it sexually attractive and all this stuff just rumbled into my brain and I didn't know how to handle it. And she made me feel like a man, which was the thing that disgusted me the most of our relationship. So it ended up not that bad, like we are still pretty good friends, but after I had to explain to her like all this stuff, and we are pretty good friends, but like it would end up pretty awfully if I didn't end up in the moment that I did. So I ended up junior high school and I was moving to high school. So back in the day, obviously the internet, MySpace and all that stuff became really popular, and obviously I found Jeffree Star and I was like, oh, maybe that's what I am. And I started like following this androgynous trend and learning about it, and even learning about like back in Greece that it was like how important was to be androgynous, because it was like the contact with two souls and blah 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 and all this stuff. And it was pretty interesting because it opened me a window in my room that it was empty and it was lonely and all that stuff. So I find a type of acceptance in that group, but it was not enough. Like in the end, it was good, but it was not enough. So I entered to junior high school and I was like following this trend, and I was a pretty hardcore slut. So
I love how you put that. You just, there's no sugar on top of that, and you just were like, you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna say shit as it is.
So because I really didn't like myself, and I thought that the only way that I could express myself is by trying to kill myself with every action that I had.
And let me say, I'm just thankful you did. I'm just like, every day that you're with me, I'm thankful for that shit. You didn't die.
So I was pretty vain and I was pretty banal, and I followed people that were like myself and they didn't have any other way to feel good about themselves but treating people like shit. And good thing is that in that high school that I was the first time, it was like I didn't have a really good relationship with the teachers because I didn't want to follow the rules and I didn't want to cut my hair. So I had really bad relationship with them, but the good thing is that I'm pretty smart. So my mom and my dad knew it, so they offered me the opportunity to enter into this really posh, rich, smart kids school. And I entered to the smarter kid high school diploma shit. And I entered there, and it was really cool. Like I learned a lot of stuff, and I don't regret changing it to that school, because I know that if I didn't, I wouldn't be the person that I am now, and I wouldn't know the person that I know now. And yeah, I was in that school, and I was pretty happy. But the problem is that I was pretty happy in the sense that I was learning, and I was learning how to back up my ideas and how to fight the ideas that, for example, my parents had about myself, that they had the idea that I was a bad person because I didn't follow the rules, or I didn't want to be in the standardized way of living of I'm a girly girl and I'm a manly man. So I learned a lot of stuff, and I learned how to fight it, how to fight the negligency and the angriness and the lack of education that a lot of people have against the transgender community. And that was when I realized that, because obviously YouTube already exists and there's a lot of people there that show their stories and share their timelines and all that stuff. And I was like, I am a transgender person. I didn't have a doubt, and I went to a psychologist by myself. That I looked it myself, and my mom and my dad offered to pay it because obviously they saw me that I was really depressed. And my mom and my dad are not bad people. They are just misinformed, exactly. So they wanted to help me, and they thought that maybe another psychology was going to fix me, but this psychology really helped me a lot, and make me realize that what I was doing was wrong. What I was doing with my body was wrong. I was going to parties late at night and drinking a lot, having drugs, doing a lot of crazy shit that I wouldn't be able, that I shouldn't do because well, no, you should do it. Like, at least once in your life you have to do it because you have to experience life. And that's something that I'm not going to regret, because I was a girl and I was experiencing what let's say a rebel girl would do. And I think that it was a growing experience.
I think it's like the hard fact is like when I wholeheartedly agree with you.
And I'm pretty sick, so if I sound really masculine, it's because I'm pretty sick. Just
yeah, I know. And but I was gonna say is know your boundaries as well. Like I know people that
I didn't know my boundaries, but no, I kind of knew.
You did.
Slightly my boundaries.
You did.
Slightly.
You did.
I'm going to take my jacket off.
Alright. It's fucking hot. I was just going to say that, like, you know, I definitely think people should go and experience that lifestyle, but be bloody careful. I guess.
Just be careful. And I was not careful, obviously, because I wanted to die, as I already recalled it. So it was pretty awful back in the day, and I did had a lot of stuff, and I looked for people to pay me my stuff, and I was a pretty horrible person. But I think that I had to leave it because I didn't have other options. It was that or staying here in my house and feeling more horrible of myself than I really was. So I was in high school, but I couldn't finish it properly because obviously I was pretty not happy about my body and about who I was. So I was like, okay, let's finish this, just finish it however it does, and let's just move on. So I started transitioning when I was 19. When I was 19? I don't know.
You've been 2 years on hormones this year.
And I'm 21. No, I'm 22. No, 3 years is this.
3 years this year. Wow.
3 years this year. I'm going to turn 22. So yeah, that means I was 19 when I started my hormones. And after going to visit my psychologist, she was like, "Yeah, you are transgender." Blah blah blah. All those talks that you have with your psychologist. And I went to the endocrinologist and I had my first take on hormones on June
26th?
June 29th. Then 29th of June.
I was close.
Yeah,
I remember
29th.
close.
And it was pretty cool. It was the start of a different journey. I didn't feel good, and that's something that I was even recalling myself. Like, I got really fat because I was not just depressed but tired because of the estrogens, and I was like not feeling good about myself. But then after starting like feeling my body changing and me seeing what I wanted to see and not feeling like, because testosterone during that time it was not my main concern, because like with a lot of makeup you could hide a lot of stuff, right? But there was something that it was off, and when I started hormones it was like something was completed, like I was achieving something that I needed to, that I was unlocking an achievement. So so it was pretty incredible. After that, like, I started losing weight and I started feeling more good, pretty good about myself, even though, well, obviously my parents were, I still are not pretty accepted. In fact, him and me, we are like called as friends. We are nothing but friends that sleep
in the same bed.
Yeah, and it's pretty funny, like, and it's good. Like, in that regard, I feel lucky because my parents, even though they don't understand it, they are still here. And yeah, if I go out and I go to Australia with them, I'm not going to be able to have them. But I think that maybe in the future, I just hope that they are going to be open-minded in the future to accept my relationship.
The thing is, this is
and
my
accept
theory.
the fact that I'm who I am, because the problem with my mom and my dad is that they think that I have changed, that I'm a different person who I am, and even people that I knew think that because now the way I look, the way I dress, the way I talk, my hair is long, because basically that's the only thing that is the difference between me of 13 years old and me of 22 years old. Basically it's just that I have long hair.
Yeah.
And boobs. Great difference, but the problem is that I'm not any different to that girl that they met, because I was a girl back then. And I'm a girl back right now, so that means that they know me. My mom and my dad know me.
I think like I said, this is like your mum and dad know what we have and they know about us, but it's like I think my theory is if they were even to admit it to themselves for a second, because of their Catholic nature, they would feel like they're going to go to hell. Like they'd feel like they're damning themselves, that they're allowing. And that's the thing. Like I think like, I mean, I'm personally not religious, but I think like, you know, the biggest thing that gets in front of people's relationships with each other is that
their beliefs.
Their beliefs, and like that's the thing. It's like
their individual beliefs.
I don't see it as myself as like doing anything wrong by loving you or loving anyone for that matter. You are
loving
a
anyone,
person.
exactly.
Yeah, loving a person is loving a person. But
because as I forgot to mention something important about my life, like the fact that I only had 3 loves in my life. First was the one that I fell in love with when I was a teenager. The second one was another girl that I think that I already mentioned it in my other video, that she opened. I started having a relationship with her after I started hormones, so she always saw me as a girl since the beginning. So in that regard, she showed me that someone else that was not that person when I was 12 was going to be able to view me as a girl and still love me. So in that regard, I owe her a lot. Like I owe them and Benjamin the fact that I can love myself now, and that I'm brave now to stand up here and say I had a shitty life, but it's possible to go out of it. In a sense, like it's possible if you wait and if you be patient. And I know that there's people out there that had it worse than me, because like I even had like I saw this documentary about transgender people in how do you say, Thailand, and about this girl that was from Nigeria that entered into this contest in Thailand of the prettiest transgender girl, blah blah blah, and that obviously she was persecuted for being a women impersonator and all this stuff. And I know that it's difficult. Like I could have it worse, because I've known transgender girls here in Mexico that don't have the opportunity that I had, because at least I had an education.
alright. Okay.
And we come back again because it just overheated our camera, so it was.
It
but yeah,
decided
we were saying that I know that there's people that had it worse, that didn't have the education that I had. But I think that I want to offer this back. I want to offer
What's in
myself.
What's in your bag of holding? What is in there?
I want to offer myself to help people and give back something, because I know that there's people out there that are not going to be able to have the same education that I had. But I'm sure that everyone has the capability to learn, has the capability to fight against the religious parents, their
ignorant teachers.
The ignorant teachers that
ignorant people in the streets.
Ignorant people in the streets that mistreat you and all that stuff, like.
Because you're not alone.
Because you're not alone. Exactly.
That's exactly right. You know, like no one's alone.
And I offer you braveness.
That's pretty big. That's a good offer.
My part. If you can be brave, I'm going to be brave for you if you want me to. And I guess that this is going really emotional, but I was hoping that someone said that to me.
Hey.
So
can I take,
now
let me take it. Let me.
I
take
want
over.
to.
Let me take her. Let me take over. Let me take over and just give you the 401 on this one. Erin, you are the bravest woman that I've ever met in my life. I do not know how many women would have stood up and walked the path you walked, and it took courage and greatness. And in my
And a
personal
little
opinion,
bit of stupidity and craziness.
well, a little. What was it? They say like a little. What was it? Every genius is, 1 part genius, 2 parts insane. I mean, that's just, you have to walk the line. And my hat goes off to Erin. I mean, Erin said to me just before we share my story, well, my story is not as fantastic and full of sort of so many sort of things that one can sort of, life lessons that can be learned. I'm a coward. I'm
overestimating yourself.
Wow, maybe.
Underestimating yourself.
Wow, that would be true. But I couldn't stand up here and do it with Erin's amount of bravery that she's put forward here. I mean, my hat goes off to you for that one, because it takes true strength and courage what you're doing right now.
Yeah, but you're just taking time.
I know, but you know
Well,
what?
whatever. The point is that I offer you that, and if you need something in that regard, I'm going to be here. And we're going to keep posting videos because we're gonna find this entertaining.
We find it very entertaining.
Even though sometimes we don't have time for it, but we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because we like it. And
Yeah.
it seems that it's a really good opportunity for us to even first prove the Australian authorities that we have a healthy relationship. Second, to help people. That's what I want to do. That's the reason why in the future I hope to become a teacher, so I can help people, more people.
Come here. I gotta say this. God, you're beautiful. When you're confident, God, you're beautiful. Come here.
But we are going now, and see you other time when we have another idea of what to put.
Maybe we can do my story next week.
Maybe.
Maybe.
So let's see. So bye.
Live long and prosper, people. Well done.